So again, welcome. My name is Jerome Braggs, and I'm the host of the Soulicious Living Show. I'm a spiritual teacher, intuitive medium, and awakening coach. And the Soulicious Living Show is a spiritual coaching blab for all of us who are interested in learning how to live really well and create more delicious lives by practicing loving ourselves and surrendering our lives over to the guidance and the presence of the divine. So this particular show is where not only will I offer tips and principles and teachings and exercises and experiences to help us learn how to live really well and live more juicy lives by loving ourselves and surrendering. But also I'll be interviewing some master spiritual teachers, some healers, some personal transformation experts, and personal growth teachers on this show that will help us as a collective understand and grow and learn kind of into what I'm talking about. So today's particular show is about the 3 steps for rising higher when shit hits the fan. And I'm really excited about this show because for many of us, not only currently are we dealing with some type of challenge where we feel like the shit is hitting the fan, we've dealt with some type of challenge in our past, or we will deal with some type of challenge in our future where we feel like kind of we're getting hit on all sides, where either something's not working for us or some traumatic or dramatic situation has happened to us. And what we're wanting it to know is more tools to put in our toolbox for how to work through those situations. Not just how to move through the situations, but to literally rise higher in our lives so that situation serves us in some way to evolve us as a human being, to bring us closer to the life that we desire, and to help us become the larger, more expansive version of ourselves. So let's talk about the 3 steps that I've learned personally in my own personal experience, as well as with coaching thousands of individuals by now on how to, break through these types of challenges. I want to share with you the 3 steps that I've learned about how to do that. But before I get to the steps, I want to kind of have a transparent moment, because not only are these 3 steps that I've used in my past, these are actually 3 steps I'm having to use currently. I'm actually currently going through a situation in my own personal life where the shit has hit the fan. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about that in a second. And then as I talk about the steps, I'm going to tell you how I'm using those steps as well. And also I want to hear in this show about, how these steps may resonate with you, or what you've learned about this, or what you'd like to learn about this, or if you want to sit in the soul seat, you have some wisdom to share about making it through our challenging situations, I'd love to hear that as well. So before I tell you about my personal situation and share with you step 1, I want to again say, if you're here and please feel free to use the comment section, which I call the angel section. I'm sorry, I call it the soul seats. Please feel free. I've been mixing these seats up all day. Please feel free to use the soul seats, which is the comment section over here. If you have something you'd like to share or a question, please feel free to share that. I see already, again, Carl let me know from Brooklyn, and Carl is saying, I caught a blab of yours a few weeks ago and loved it. Love what you're doing. Thank you so much, Carl. It is my deepest intention that something I'm sharing or something I'm saying here is of service to somebody. So thank you so much. So I want to share a little bit about my personal situation that's going on. So this particular past week, so today is Sunday, and this past week, I had a lot of situations kind of hit me at once that were really challenging for me at the moment. My cell phone died, not just the battery died, but it just like completely went out. And for me, that's not just the, oh, my cell phone died, I can't call anybody, because I'm totally okay with that. I practiced kind of unplugging and detoxifying from external communication often. But I'm in the midst of writing a book. I am in the midst of helping other people write their books. And so I have a lot of notes and things on my phone, and that I hadn't yet crossed over into Evernote, which I use a lot shout out to Evernote for all of you who all use that. I haven't yet crossed those over into Evernote. And so on my book and on these other people's books. And so to lose that was kind of devastating a little bit, because I can't go back and get that. And that was months of information I had in this particular note. And not just did I lose my phone, but I had I was driving to pass off some paperwork that I need to pass off to someone, and in the middle of me driving going to the payphone, my car stopped, and not only did it stop, but it died. And it wouldn't start again. And I thought, okay, well, something's happening. I heard some clanking or something. I said, well, maybe there's a belt loose or something like that needs to be fixed. So I had it towed to the car shop, and I got a call the next day from the car shop saying that they could not unlock my car. Like, my engine is locked, and they think the engine is actually dead, and there's nothing they can do about it. And that for them to even begin to look at what is causing the engine to lock was more than what the car is costing right now. So that pretty much I'm gonna have to I have no transportation. I have to get a new car, which new cars are nice, but at this point of my life, the perception I have of the money in my account was not at a place where I could buy a new car for myself. At least the ones that the ones or the type that I would want or that I would need to proceed through what I want to do. So that's happening. I'm in this space now where, I have to get a new phone. Lost some information from that. I'm having to get a new car, and not just get a new car, but I'm kind of at this place where I don't know where the funds are going to come from to get a new car. And there are some things going on with some personal relationships of mine, with some friends of mine are going through some very rough times. Also going through some health challenges and some financial challenges that are pretty scary. And so I'm going through this space where the things are hitting me at all different directions. And it's kind of like the shit hitting the fan type of moment. And so I'm going to walk you through as I'm going to talk about these steps for, rising higher when the shit hits the fan. I'm going to show you as well as how I'm using these steps currently in my life, because a lot of times we hear spiritual teachers out there talk to us about, how to change our lives or how to improve our lives, or spiritual principles that will manifest things or heal things or allow more peace in our lives or center us. But we don't often see them talking about the challenges they're going through in their personal lives. Because as a spiritual teacher, it's not that you don't ever have challenges, it's that you have tools in your toolbox to apply when the shit does hit the fan, that keep you know how to get back to your center faster. You know how to ground yourself in well-being faster. You have a deeper level of trust because you've had tried and true experiences, and you know how to turn things around, faster than you did before, right? And it's not that things don't necessarily happen. It's that you now have tools in your toolbox, and you have the consciousness to be able to ground yourself in peace while all of this is happening, and be able to understand how to turn things around, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So if any of you all out there are going through something right now, like I am, not necessarily, the exact mirrored image of what I'm going through, but if you're having a challenging moment, please type something in the soul seats. Like, you can type, yes, I am, or you can type a brief description of what your challenge is. Or you can just kind of raise your hand. I hope if there's an icon for raising your hand, put that in the comment section. Just let me know that, you too are going through something challenging, and that, this can help you as well. This information we're about to share today can help you as well. So I just want to take a second for any of you all that are here to kind of type in for that as well. And so while you're doing that, while you're putting that in the comment sections, I want to actually talk about step one to rising higher when the shit hits the fan. The very first thing that I've learned to do, now I have a long history of not just my current challenge, but I have a long history of the shit hitting the fan, of really dramatic and traumatic things happening. I was told 10 years ago in a hospital room that I had 7 days to live. Doctors diagnosed me with several life-threatening illnesses and diseases and told me that my situation had progressed to a point that they couldn't help me out anymore. My mother had MS, had a huge bout of MS a few years ago, and we thought that she was going to pass. My aunt, her twin sister, just a few years later than that, had a bout with meningitis, a lethal bout, the meningitis that kills. And the doctors thought she had within probably about 40 hours to live. When my father was diagnosed, some years in that time, was diagnosed with cancer. prostate cancer, and his outcome was looking bleak. My other aunt was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. I've had, really, really deep financial problems where, I've had to move out of my apartment and things like this. Like, I know in my past, I've had very struggling moments. I'm not saying that those, and I know many of you all out there have some that my stuff doesn't even pale in comparison to that. But what I'm saying is I've had a history of challenging situations where the shit has hit the fan. And those experiences, not only have I moved through those experiences, but I miraculously moved through those experiences. And I've learned something. I have this kind of tool set now that when challenges arise, I've learned a tried and true response to those situations that not only centers me in peace, that grounds me in well-being, but opens me up to receive a miracle to happen, or the solution, a miraculous solution to the challenge that I could not have seen before. So I want to talk to you about how do we do that? How do we begin to open ourselves up to the miraculous solution that wants to take place in our current challenge? How do we rise higher from the trauma and the drama that's currently happening in our experiences? And how do we not only move through, but how do we transform to a higher level of being because of what's happening to us? So, I see Carl saying, wow. Yes, Carl, all of that has happened, but I'm here today. And that's what I want to share today. Like, how did I get to where I am today? When not only am I living well, and not only am I enjoying the taste of my life, but I'm really happy, and I'm healthy, and I'm whole. And I'm looking forward to tomorrow, although I'm going through this current experience. So the first step in really learning how to rise, higher when the shit hits the fan is surrender. Surrender. We must surrender. I have a saying that your life gets really juicy once you learn to surrender first and frequently. So the first step, when something is happening to you, whether you're going through a divorce, whether you've gotten a scary diagnosis from the doctor, whether you're going through some really financial strain or some personal inner turmoil, or whatever you're going through in whatever area of your life, the first thing to do to begin to make a shift is to surrender. And here's what I mean by surrender. There are two elements to surrender. There's the invitation and the offering. The invitation aspect of surrender is when we invite the divine, the higher self, if you will, to come in and take control of this situation, to spread itself out all over this situation and to take it over. So using my own example, when my phone died and my car died, and within 24 hours of each other, and I got the news about my friends, my first inclination was to freak out. That's usually what our smaller self does. Many people call the smaller self the ego self. I call it the smaller self. Sometimes I call it the ego as well. But the first inclination of the ego and the smaller self is to panic, is to say that everything is going against me, that the world is falling down, and that there's no way I can see out of this, right? That's the first inclination of our smaller self, is to go into victimization, fear, and anxiety, right? And so I had some of that. I had some fear around, oh my God, my phone is gone. What's going to happen to those things? Again, what's going to happen to those notes I have about my book and for those other people's work? My car is dead. Oh my God, how am I going to afford a new car? How am I going to get a new car? How am I going to get around, right? And how am I going to make it to my doctor's appointments? How am I going to travel when I need to travel? How am I going to live without this, this happening? And the very first step when we find ourselves in that space is to stop. You can either breathe deeply, you can do this in prayer or meditation, you can do this out loud with words, but it's to stop and invite the divine into that experience. I use the divine, I use the soul, I use the words higher self, I also use God and the universe, creator, whatever word you use to describe the higher, more the element and presence and energy of wisdom and love and intelligence and power that is larger than the perspective that we have and the abilities that we have from the physical aspect of ourselves and the ego aspect of ourselves. You know, that higher self, that divine self, that God self that is within you, that's within you, that is eternal, that is eternally wise, eternally loving, eternally powerful, that has a bigger plan. So the first step is to invite that presence, to invite that consciousness, to invite that wisdom into this situation to take over. I like to do that through prayer. You know, that's usually what I serve for what my prayer serves for me. Is this is an invitation to ask the divine to come into my situations and to take over. So that's exactly what I did. You know, when this happened, I stopped right when I found myself freaking out. I stopped. I walked into my meditation room. You know, I shut off my phone for a little bit and I played some soft music, lit some candles and some incense. And I just prayed. You know, I said, dear beloved God, please come into this situation. Please feel yourself in all the crevices that I'm not aware of in the situation. Please feel yourself in my own consciousness in the situation so that I can be at peace. And so that this particular situation can move towards the solution that is the most in alignment with you. Right? Please come into this situation. So it's an invitation for the divine to take over. You know, there is a quote I want to read to you by, I always mess up his name, so I had to write this name down. So I'm going to look off screen for a second to my note for him. So the quote by Nisargadatta Datta Maharaj, and it's about the process of surrender. And he says, you know, when you surrender, life begins to happen for you and through you rather than by you. And when we invite, this is part of the invitation. This is why we want to invite. You know, we're inviting, one, so that life can begin to happen for us, for our benefit, and through us, you know, through the divine presence within us, rather than by us. You know, again, when we try to solve things by the smaller self and by the ego self, almost always, I've never seen it not happen like this. Like when you try to approach the solution from the smaller self, it's a lot of pain, it's a lot of struggle, and it's a lot of fear involved. You know, there's something that the quote by Einstein that says the solution, the problem can never be solved at the same level. The solution can never be reached by the same level as the problem, right? So the invitation is our effort to rise higher than the level and the energy of the problem and let the divine in so that we can rise to the level of the solution, right? So that the life can begin to happen through us and for us instead of always by us. And the invitation is also done from an understanding that there is a higher plan for our lives than our smaller selves can understand. That there's a solution available to this challenge that is beyond, that is more artful and more delicious and more peaceful and easy than our small perspective of the ego can currently understand or can currently work out by itself. So that's why we invite the perspective and the presence of the higher self, because we understand that even though it doesn't feel like it right now, even though it may be confusing or uncomfortable or even painful and downright scary right now, that there is something going on beneath the surface. There is a plan going on beneath the surface that is there to serve us in some way, and that there's a solution beneath this that is higher and more grand and more loving and more artful than what we can currently see. And we're going to invite in the divine into the situation so that we can begin to work out from that perspective and we can begin to see that, right? And so the other half of this process of surrender is the invitation, but also the letting go. It's like the offering. It's the invitation and the offering. So the offering is letting go of our control of this situation, of our needing to understand everything that's happening here, of our needing to have our hands in this and pushing this forward. And it's our willingness to say, I'm willing, instead of controlling this, I'm willing to be guided. I'm willing for the divine to guide me through this. I'm willing for the divine to guide me towards the solution. That I'm willing to believe that there is a solution. It's beyond my perspective, and beyond my understanding right now. So instead of me trying to work through what I do understand, I'm going to surrender and let go, and I'm going to be guided. I'm going to trust that I will be guided towards what I need to know when I need to know it, what I need to do when I need to do it. So I'm going to offer this entire experience over, and I'm going to let go. So that's step number one, is to invite the divine into the situation. However you want to do that. You can do it in meditation. You can do it in prayer. You can do it audibly. You can go outside and yell it out. I've done that before at midnight. When I was at my wit's end, I walked outside and I've just yelled out, help me, help me. Help me is also an invitation. Just the words help me is an invitation for the divine to come into the situation. So however you want to do that, you invite the divine into the presence of the situation, and then you offer over your control. You offer over your understanding of how you think this should have to work out. You offer over your holding on to how you think the outcome of this should come. You're offering over the outcome, how you think the outcome should come, and you're offering over your holding on to the situation, like holding on to the control. And you're saying, I'm willing to be guided. I'm willing to trust that something good is going to come out of this. And I'm not going to direct how this has to happen. I'm going to trust that you'll show me what I need to know to work through this. So that's step one. Before we walk into step two, I want to hear, some of your what your thoughts are about step one, the invitation and the offering, or how if your experience for the invitation and the offering in your life in the past. I've learned many times, oftentimes, to just get to the solution. Sometimes all you need to do is step one. That's why it's number one for me. What I've learned. I've had miraculous things happen just from the invitation and the offer alone. I've had things work out. I've had healings happen in my body. I've had money come to me when I needed it. I've had relationships heal and become more fulfilling just by inviting the presence of the divine to take over and letting go. Just miraculous things have happened just from step one. Now, when I've added these other two steps in, just juicy stuff has happened. But step one has led to some amazing things on its own. And so for again, like I said, I'm going through this thing personally with my own life. So the first thing I did, again, when my car broke down and my phone was gone and my friends were going through that situation, after I had my initial freak out moment, I stopped, I got in my space, and I said my prayer that invited the divine into the situation, and then I let go. I told myself that, I'm not going to try to work, I'm not going to try to figure this out on my own. I'm not going to try to, obviously, I see the amount in my bank accounts right now, and I know that it's not necessarily the amount that I would want to go buy my new car. But I'm believing that there's another way for this, that there's another solution for this, and I'm not going to stand in my anxiety and try to let my small self lead to the solution. I'm going to let my higher self take over. So that was how I did this first thing. So yeah, I'm seeing you all say, Carl is saying that's some good stuff. He's saying, surrender, invite the divine into the situation and offer over the control. That's absolutely number one. Carl, good stuff there. Yes, I'm seeing TP Dharma saying surrender is faith in action. Absolutely. Surrender is an action step. Surrender is not, we often think of surrender as a weakness, but surrender is actually a power. It's actually you inviting a higher power into the situation. Faith is an action step. It's you saying, I trust enough in this power that I'm going to let it take control. I'm going to let it guide me. I'm going to let it lead me. So that's the first step, when, the shit hits the fan, into rising higher, is to invite and then offer. Offer this entire situation over to the guidance and the love and the peace and the flow of the divine. So 1 second, let me drink of water before I get to step two. Mm. Yeah. So, okay. So step two, you guys, is exactly, before I get to step two, TP Dharma is saying no one is left out of this divine plan. Everybody has a divine plan for their lives. Everybody has intentions from the higher aspect of them that are wanting to be played out in their lives. And the juicy, more delicious, more easy path is when we allow ourselves to understand that that plan exists, and allow space in our lives for that plan to manifest itself. And we do that by having a practice, a consistent practice of surrender, of really trusting and letting go and offering over our entire being to this presence. And so that the presence can work the plan out. So I love what you all are saying here. Love it, love it, love it. Keep it coming. So in step two is, once we've got the invitation and the offering, is to get in alignment. I fully believe that all good things happen after alignment. So let me talk to you a little bit about what I mean by alignment. Alignment is like getting in alignment with the higher self, getting in alignment with our soul, getting in alignment with the energy of that and the presence of that. So getting in alignment means I'm going to allow myself to be in connection, in correlation, in flow with the energy of my soul, with the energy of my higher self. So, and all good things happen after alignment. And so what alignment takes is, it takes a deeper dive into relaxation. It takes a deeper dive into trust, which you did in step one. And it takes a deeper dive in reminding yourself of the truth that your higher self knows, of the truth of who you really are, right? So the first step, again, in this alignment is to relax more, to get to a space where you're not adding the energy of worry and anxiety and fear, which are the antithesis of relaxation, where we're in thoughts and feelings of that, when we're holding feelings and thoughts that are in alignment with fear, and we become stressed. When we worry and we begin to think about the how, I call them the sacred hows, like, how is this going to work out? I can't see how this is going to work out. I don't know how this is going to work out. When we get to try and figuring out how this is going to work out, we stress ourselves out. And anytime we're in stress, so we're going to talk about in kind of the energy and the makeup of who we are as souls. When you begin to stress out and you begin to worry and you get to be afraid, your vibration, the energy that you send off, is a vibration of fear and worry. And the universe's entire responsibility is to make sure that your vibration gets turned into your reality. This is what a lot of law of attraction people are talking about when they talk about our thoughts become things. What's actually happening is the vibration that you're sending off through the energy that you're sending off, right? And the energy that you're sending off is made up of how you're feeling at any given moment and the thoughts that you're thinking at any moment. So when we're thinking something, when we're thinking worryful thoughts, that this is not going to work out for me, that I don't know how this can work out for me, this is impossible, that we're feeling afraid, we're feeling that this is too much for our situations to work through or whatever. When we're in that space, what ends up happening is we're sending out an energy into the universe, a vibrational frequency that says, this is not working out for me. I'm afraid that this is not going to work out. I'm afraid that this is going to get worse. I'm afraid that this can't get better. And when you send that kind of vibration out to the universe is a very fair entity. It's a very fair entity. And all it's ever doing is mirroring back to you the vibration that you're holding. Again, the universe's main responsibility is to make sure your vibration becomes your reality, right? And so if you're holding worryful thoughts and if you're stressed out, you're going to get a reality that's going to have more stress and more to worry about and more to be afraid of. So instead of doing that, relax. Like, do whatever you can to let go of the worry and be more trusting and to relax. So again, what I'm doing right now is one of my main things to do to help me relax more is I go where the love is. I hang out more with people that I enjoy, with people who make me feel good, with people who make me feel safe, and people make me laugh and feel loved. So I'm spending a lot more time I live alone. So instead of spending a lot of time in my house, I'm spending some time at my mom's house. I'm hanging out with my friends, going to have tea with them, hanging out at their houses more, laughing and joking more. Taking hot baths is one of with Epsom salts in them, and essential oils in them that help me relax and help me, and a really soothing and relaxing effort for me. I'm walking more in nature. I'm taking 30 minutes walks for the last few days. I've taken 30-minute walks around this lake that is here, not too far from my house, and it has all these beautiful trees and flowers, and it's very peaceful. And it allows me to get centered in that presence instead of worrying about how this is going to work out for me, right? So I'm relaxing. And what happens when we relax is we begin to align more with the energy of the soul. You see, the soul exists in an energy of relaxation. It's not worried because it knows all things are working out for us. It sees the solution and knows the solution is already available for us. So the higher aspect of us, there are two aspects of us. There's the smaller self, which is made up of the ego and the physical body that you see right now. It's more physical. And the higher self, or what I call the soul self, or the God self. And that self is made up of eternal wisdom and love. That self is connected to the all energy of God. It's connected to the entire universe. It's connected to the entirety of what the divine is. And that part of us knows that we're always whole. It knows that we're always well. It knows that all is well, that all is working out for us. And so when we think about that aspect, so there's two aspects of ourselves. There's the smaller self and the higher self. When we want to work through our situations, when we want to rise higher when the shit hits the fan, we want to connect and get in alignment more with the energy of our higher self. And so we want to relax. And so we want to do whatever we can to relax. Again, taking baths, walking in nature, being around people that we love and that love us, laughing more, taking our minds off the situation as much as possible is the first step of getting a relaxation. There's something that happens a lot when when a challenge happens in our lives, is we begin to think that we have to get into stressed action in order to work it out. And that is usually the antithesis of how things actually work out in our lives. It's the antithesis of how the soul actually wants to work in this situation, right? So instead of being in stressed energy, the soul is asking us to be in relaxed energy and peaceful energy to move through the solution. Again, going back to what I said about the quote from Einstein, you can't get to the solution from the same energy that caused the problem. So the same energy that caused the problem is usually stress, is usually fear and anxiety. And so to get to the solution, you have to get out of that energy and into the energy where the solution is. And if I think about the solution, which is, to get a new car, and for right now, and to have a new phone, and for my friend's health to be well, and for my friends to be doing well, the solution feels like peace to me. It feels like happiness to me, right? It feels like relief and relaxation to me. When I think about that happening already, that's what that feels like. So the solution of that, the energy of that, is not me feeling freaked the hell out like I was in the beginning, and scared and anxious and worried. The solution is me lives in the energy of peace and happiness and excitement and relief. So how can I feel more of that so that the solution can present itself to me? Right? The path to the solution can present itself to me. So the first part of step 2 is to relax. Do whatever you can to relax. I found that almost always the solutions and the great ideas and the answers to the questions that I have almost always come in a space when I'm relaxed. I tell my friends this all the time, and I tell my clients this, with my coaching clients, I tell this all the time. My greatest ideas come in the bathtub. This has been true for me for years. When I light my candles, when I shut my phone off, when I, am not, engaged in external communication, and I'm just being still and relaxed, and I'm in the water, I like hot baths with Epsom salt. So I'm in the water with Epsom salt, my essential oils, and I'm not thinking about anything, and I'm just relaxing. It works 99.9% of the time. These great ideas come, and the solution to my problem usually comes through. And, my answers to the questions I've been asking come through. I see that TP Dharma Awesome says, be still. It's almost exactly. Answers almost always come when we're relaxed and we're still. That's the voice of the eternal. The voice of the divine is stillness. It speaks in stillness. It doesn't speak in confusion. And it doesn't speak in when we've got a whole bunch going on, like just activity. It speaks more when we're still. Activity has its place. We're going to talk about that here in a second. But the voice of the soul speaks through stillness and speaks through relaxation. So we've got to get into that energy of that, right? So getting in alignment, the first part of that is to relax. And so do any of you all, I'd love to hear what you all have to say. I know we have some more people that have joined. So Terry Creator, welcome. Mabel, welcome. If you all have something, an experience with getting in alignment, or you want to go back to step one, where we talked about surrender and inviting the divine into your situation and offering over your control, I'd love to hear it. In this comment section is called the Soul Seats. So if you have something you want to share, or if you want to come on live and you have a story you want to share, or some wisdom you want to share, or an aha you got, there's an open seat here. I call it the angel seat. You can click on the angel seat, and I'd love to have you come on and share what you'd like to share live. So, but if not, you can please comment in the soul section. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this. Some of you are talking about being still and surrenders to faith and action, all that, which is juicy stuff. And I'd love to hear more about what you'd have to say. Welcome to Inner Soul Development. For all of you all who are just joining, I'm just talking about step 2 and what it takes to rise higher when the shit hits the fan, and that is to get in alignment with the energy of your soul. And the first part of that is to relax. And the second part of that is to get to really affirm the truth that your higher self knows, the truth that your soul knows. Oftentimes when we're in the midst of our challenges, when we're in the midst of I see you calling in. I'm going to open the seat for you in just 1 second. So oftentimes when we are experiencing our challenges, one thing that we tend to do is we tend to rehearse our old thoughts about the situation. We rehearse our old conversations about, our what's possible for us, or how it hasn't worked out before, so it's probably not going to work out this time, or something like that. Instead, we want to tell ourselves the truth that our soul knows about that situation. So right now I want to give Terry Prince. Hey, welcome, Terry.
Hi, how are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
Oh, blessed.
Awesome.
And so amazed. I'm listening to you speak of surrender, and it's so beautiful because when we get that, when we get to a place of surrender, we are releasing it to the power that's working in the universe. I say to friends, and I say, if you've ever watched The Wizard of Oz, and I say, what was the most powerful message in The Wizard of Oz? And people always say, no, it was click your heels to each other. You had it in you all the time. I say, yeah. I said, but the most powerful message was when the witch wrote in the sky, surrender Dorothy.
Mm-hmm.
And in that surrender, now most people wouldn't see that as the positive, but that was the most powerful part in there, in my opinion, for in that surrendering, that's when she was able to find her way back home.
I love what you just said, because I think for me, I've never seen this not happen. I've never seen this not happen in my own life, in the life of clients, in the life of family, in the life of friends. I've never seen someone surrender and not be guided back home.
Right.
Not be guided back to the center of themselves.
Yes.
and the power and the grace and the presence of the divine that exists there.
Yes.
Right. I've never seen that not happen.
You know, it's when we surrender, we're getting out of our way.
Exactly.
You know, we're getting out of, you know, there's a saying that says, you need not do anything, remain sitting at your table and listen. You need not even listen, just wait. You need not even wait. Become quiet, still, and solitary, and the world will offer itself to you to be unmasked. It has no choice. It will roll in ecstasy at your feet. And that's about surrendering.
Yes. So 1 second, I have someone new on the angel seat. If you'd like to introduce yourself and say hi, can you see us? Can you hear us?
Repeat, please.
Yeah, I can barely hear you. Can you speak up a little bit?
Yeah, I am from.
Yeah, can you hear us? My name is Jerome, and we're currently talking about the power of surrender.
Yeah, I am from.
I'm sorry, you're saying, where am I from? Okay, well, it seems like we lost that. I couldn't quite hear him. But one of the beautiful things about surrender is that, like you said in the beginning, it opens you up to experiencing the higher power and the presence of the higher power in our lives. You know, there's a universal law that's not often talked about. We talk about the law of attraction a lot. We talk about the law of receiving a lot. But there's a law that's called the law of realization. And the law of realization states that the presence of God, or the presence of source, or the presence of love, or the presence of healing, or whatever you're associating, you know, the attribute to the divine. The presence of the divine can only be realized in our lives, which means it can only be experienced in our lives, where it's recognized in our consciousness. And what that means is that, you know, outside of just the face value of that, it speaks a lot alone to the face value. But what it means is, like, when we put in our minds that there is something higher than our current perspective available to us, and that we're going to let that present itself to us, we're going to let that take over, it begins to show itself.
Right.
And we begin to experience more grace.
Right.
And more ease and love like we've never known before in all the situations we're working in. And that's why surrender to me is step one. It is step one when you're going through a challenge. It is step one that when we begin to experience, when the shit hits the fan in our lives, say to yourself, there's something greater available here. Right. And I want it to show itself to me. Well, so in order for it to show itself to me, I got to let go. Like you said, surrender Dorothy in the sky.
Even in the 12-step programs, surrender is the first step in a 12-step program. It's surrendering to a higher power. But that is the first step in a 12-step program.
Yes. It's got to be. I think, because if it's not the first step, then what we do is what we do when surrender is not our first step is we begin to run around in struggle and in pain and in fear. And in that energy, we create more to struggle about and more to be afraid of and more to fear and worry from. And again, it's that the solution to that problem does not exist at that level. So all that exists at that level is more problem. Right. And that's why our problems usually get bigger and bigger from that perspective. And then new problems tend to come in from that perspective. But something really amazing happens when we really step back and we say, have your way. Like, I've had my turn at this. I've had my turn at this, right? Have your turn. Yeah. Yeah, I've batted at this and I've struck out.
Yeah. My best thinking got me here.
Exactly. Right. And it can't, and it's not going to get me anywhere else but here.
Right.
So, there's higher thinking available. There's higher, processes and higher guidance available. I want to see what that's about.
Right.
So that I just love that. I love everything that you're sharing.
Right. Well, I love what you're saying, and I, in my own life and in my own experience, I devote my life to the vibration, the energy, to the power of love, and because for me, what I've come to understand, and that's what I surrender to. I surrender to love. And the love that I surrender to, it is a universal love that is invisible, that is intangible, but it's omnipotent, it's omnipresent, and it's omniscient. And this divine love that I surrender to, it is the love that we've been told by every philosopher and every revelator of since the beginning of time, that there's one thing that we've been told that never fails, and that's love. So if we've been told that this love never fails, then only the unwise would put their stock in anything else. If I'm told that love never fails, then that's what I'm going to surrender to, because I know that either that's true or it isn't. And if it's true, then why would I surrender my being to anything else than this power called love?
I believe that I am a firm believer and teacher that God is all there is.
Yes.
And God is love.
Right.
So love must be all there is, right? And so what you're saying, which is just juicy stuff coming from all of you, I'm just eating this up, is, it's when I understand that love is all there is, and love is that means love is always available.
Yes.
Right? And so love is available to take over in this situation.
Right.
And what love is, love always heals. Right. Love always empowers.
Right.
Love always raises and uplifts.
Right.
Love always expands.
Right.
Love always evolves.
Right.
Right. I believe that love is literally the power that moves the blood through your cells and holds the stars in place. I believe that is the only power. And so when you're surrendering and when you're getting an alignment and raising your vibration, what you're doing is you're letting love take over.
Yes.
You're letting love take over.
Yes.
I see that above your wall up there, the word love.
Oh, it's everywhere.
Yes. So you're letting love take over. Love is creative force. I'm seeing all of you all now are some beautiful, beautiful comments. The vibration, energy are foundational to our existence. Love is a creative force. To surrender, is the power of humility too. It's very important to understand that when you're surrendering, what you're surrendering to.
Yes.
I use many names.
Yes. About
it, but to help because many people are, it connects at different levels, the name.
Right.
But what we're really surrendering to is the eternal, wise, all-encompassing power of love. Right. And that's the safest thing to do.
Yes.
We think that oftentimes that controlling our situation is the safest thing to do. But the safest thing to do is actually to surrender so that love can take over. Because love is the thing that created the planet.
Right.
It's the thing that created your body when you were in the womb. You weren't in there like sewing things together and making blood vessels and all of that. That was love creating the pathways and the blood vessels and the organs. You didn't have to control that. It was done for you because love wanted it. It wants you to be happy.
Love is who we are.
It's who you are.
Who we are.
And so if you did not have to control the very miraculous process of creating this body in your mother's womb, if you had everything that you needed for that to happen, the nutrients came through your mother, you didn't have to knock on her stomach to ask for that, you didn't have to speak up to it was just given to you. Then why do we expect in our adulthood that anything different would happen?
Right.
If the very first aspect of our beingness was done through a relationship of surrender, and miracles came out of that, you are literally a miracle. This body sitting here is literally the most miraculous thing you've ever seen.
Right.
Right. And we don't have time to get into all the science that supports that.
Right.
But it is a miracle. And if the very first thing was the creation of the body and the creation of you being able to breathe and have life, and that was all done without your having to have your hands in it.
Right.
Then it is safe to believe that the rest of your life can flow through in that same understanding, in that same relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I say to friends, I say, you know, that we are loved. And the evidence of that for me is that if the source that created us is love, and everything that this source made was created in its image and likeness, then we have to be that love as well. And that on this physical plane, two people had an act. And this act that they had was called making love. And 9 months later, we are the love that they made that showed forth into physical form. But we are the love that was made.
It's from love only comes love to create more love.
Love is the answer.
Love is the answer.
Love is the answer.
Solution is the way.
Yeah.
So when we surrender so that love can be the answer in the way, because that's what it is. We relax so that we get out of our own way. So we get out of love's way of coming through us, like the quote I shared before, so that life can begin to happen for us and through us, so that love can begin to happen for us and through us. And we relax so that, again, and we raise our consciousness, we raise our beliefs and our affirmations so that we can be more loving and more trusting. So that was the other aspect of step 2, was you've got to tell yourself more loving, more trusting, more empowering thoughts. You've got to raise your vibration so that the solution can come through. And that's that's about alignment. Alignment, the two aspects of alignment are relaxation and raising the vibration. That's really it, right? That's what alignment is all about. Right. And into step 3, just keeping in the interest of time, and then for anything else you want to say or for any other comments, we have some great comments coming through that I'd like to read out. But in the interest of time, the third step, after we've surrendered, after we've gotten ourselves in alignment, is to take inspired action, and only inspired action. You know, again, love is a guidance system. Right. It is a wise guidance system, and it will speak. The soul, you know, which is the same word, the love and the soul, is the higher divine experience of love that we have, that we are. It's always seeking to guide us to the next higher experience of our lives, the next higher experience of love, the deeper experience of peace and well-being, the greater experience of joy and happiness, right? And so the solution will be spoken through to trust in your guidance system. Right? To trust in the feeling that you're getting in your gut and in your heart. You may be getting something about to go speak to somebody, and it may be an irrational thought. You may not even know that person over there, but something in your gut is saying, go speak to that person. Right. If you go over there and you walk over to that person and you speak to that person has exactly the thing that you've been looking for that will lead to the solution to what you're experiencing. Or the solution may be to take a certain action. You know, and what I've found is the majority of the time, the guidance, the inspired action, the inspired guidance that comes from the soul is usually irrational. It's usually not the rational or logical thing to do. Right. That's where the trust has to come back in. You're still having this whole development and this whole relationship with trust. But in order to take the actions that will lead to the solution, it's usually going to be some irrational or illogical thing that's outside of your comfort zone, right? It's usually going to be, you know, again, talking to the person you don't know, or asking for help in a way that you've never asked for it before, or letting go in a way you've never let go before, or doing something you've never done before, or doing something you did before that you thought you'd never do again. It's asking you to go down that path, but you've got to trust in the feelings and the guidance and the nudges that you're getting, because those nudges are always leading to you. This is what the soul's voice is always doing. I call it your inner GPS. The entire responsibility of your intuition or your inner GPS is to guide you towards the solutions you've been asking for, the manifestations of the dreams and the desires that you're holding,
Right.
and the unfolding of your greatest self.
Correct.
That's really that's all it's doing.
Right.
So it's not leading you towards worse.
Right.
It's not leading you towards more pain. It's leading you towards more good, more expansion, and more well-being.
Right.
And so you have to trust in that feeling of when you know that something deeper is guiding you towards it.
Right.
And again, you usually know that's the voice of the soul because it's usually the thing that's outside it feels uncomfortable to do. Not painful, but it just feels like it's pressing on your comfort zone. It's
a fearful. But I say to people, you will never find one person who will say to you, I should not have listened to my intuition. Everyone says, I should have listened to my intuition. Now, that's 100%. That's pretty powerful.
There's never been an instance where intuition has led me wrong.
Right.
There has been multiple instances where my ego has let me wrong.
The intellect.
Multiple.
The intellect. Yes, absolutely.
And multiple situations, right? And so the third step in that is to take the inspired action that you're being guided to let yourself be guided again, and to understand where that's coming from, where that pulse is coming from in the heart and the gut. It's coming from love.
Right.
It's coming from love, and love does not lead you to pain.
Love never fails.
And love doesn't hurt either, by the way. So that's the understanding here, is that to rise out of your shitstorm, whatever that shitstorm is to surrender, which is a dying to love, which is something we're going to talk about a lot in this show. For all of you all who are new to this show is going to go hugely into what it looks like to die to love, to really experience love, to surrender over to love, and to love yourself, what that actually looks like. Huge stuff. I got some awesome guests coming in soon, some real good spiritual teachers. They're going to talk about this as well in depth. But, just like Terry was saying, I love the fact that Terry's a guest today in the angel seat, but that you're surrendering over to love, and then you're diving deep into alignment. You're diving deeper into relaxation and raising your vibration. And then you're going to, from that space, when you are in alignment and you are deeply surrendered, guidance like you've never understood before happens.
Love takes over.
Love takes over, and you will be guided beyond your ability to understand before. Yes. For all of you all who wanted to know, I'm a teacher of intuition and enhancing you and understanding and connecting in with your inner wisdom. And I get to ask this all the time, like, how do I really get into the voice? How do I hear the voice more loudly? Like my voice, how do I know that that's the voice that's speaking? And how do I hear it more loudly? Because what I'm hearing loudly is more the voice of my ego, the voice of my smaller self. How do I hear the higher self more loudly? And the tools to that, the way to hearing that, is to surrender and to get in alignment. If you do that, the voice of your soul will be as loud as a foghorn. I can promise you that. When you are deeply surrendered and you are deeply relaxed and you are raising your vibration, you will know without a shadow of a doubt that the voice of your soul is telling you to go over here, or to do this, or to say that. It is not a confusion. It is not a whisper. It becomes a very loud, almost, I won't say a command, but it is a loud statement that you have a choice to follow or not. I have someone else coming into the angel seat here.
How you doing?
Hey, love. Inner Soul Development is the title, and what's your name?
My name is SJ. My company is called Inner Soul Development.
Wonderful, wonderful. I love to hear what you have to add or say.
Okay, well, we were talking about, you were talking about intuition and that quiet voice that's in you. Okay, you have to understand that that's a like you said, that's your internal GPS telling you which way to go. Okay, but in order to be in line with that, you have to do a lot of, and I tell my clients this a lot, that, they have to understand how to meditate and how to get into oneself. You have to be able to quiet the world, shut the world down, and get into oneself, because a lot of people don't understand who they are. You understand? They don't understand how they are designed. You have to also understand that we are products of repetition. We are conditioned. And those higher faculties, or those higher faculties that you were talking about earlier, we all have that. The power, we all have that. We all have that one power that's within us that flows. We have to understand that we are spiritual beings, manifested in a physical body, right? With the God-given gift of intelligence, of course. But those higher faculties that we've always had, we never tap into. So everybody in the world, the only thing that we do is we are judging, or we have the outside world dictate what our journey should be. And that's all on a physical level, right?
Yeah, it's like you were saying, and meditation is a beautiful practice. I'm a huge teacher of meditation. I love it. It's the outer thoughts as well as the inner thoughts that aren't in alignment with the soul. And it's a beautiful practice in helping you relax enough so that you can become in alignment with the energy of the source, of what really is source. So I love that. Again, meditation for me in this particular step will be in step 2. Like after you've offered it over, it's time to go deeper into some meditation practices, right? It's time to go deeper into some yoga practices. It's time to go deeper into prayer practices. It's time to go deeper into those practices that relax your very being, help you be still, and help you hear more, which is, meditation is an amazing practice to help you hear more of the voice of love, the voice of the divine, so that you can understand what it's guiding you towards.
Right, exactly. Because that's the only way that you can actually hear that inner voice. That's the only way that you can actually hear exactly what it is. Sometimes intuition is knocking hard at the door, and everybody ignores it. Okay, everybody ignores intuition, perception. You can, all around the world, you can see it clear as day that people ignore it. Okay, because they don't even know what it is. And a lot of people haven't gotten in tune with themselves. And I tell them, there's ways of meditation, but for somebody at the foundation or the level of knowledge of trying to understand it, I let them know it's not as complex as you would think. It's just you being able to shut down, or being still, and allowing yourself to be in line with you.
Yeah, it's you coming back home to yourself, right? It's the practice of you coming home to you through deep breathing and stilling your mind as much as you possibly can. You're going to be thinking out the wazoo in the beginning. I've been meditating for almost 20 years now, so it's less. I have much less than that, but for the first 8 years, my mind was all over the place in the beginning.
Right.
For the first 5 minutes of my meditation, it's a muscle. Meditation is also an exercise, like a spiritual muscle. So you're not going to be, you're not going to have a 6-pack in meditation after the first time that you do it, right? It takes a while for you to develop that. But again, go ahead.
What I've discovered on this journey. And I try to be mindful of the word meditation, because a lot of people, they hear that word and it's like the word God. When people hear the word, it takes them back to how they were conditioned to with that word. And sometimes it shuts people off. So I tell people, I say, forget the word meditation. Find a way to have silence. To have silence in your life, to have quietness in your life. I've been noticing yesterday and today, after the events that took place in Paris, and I've noticed this years of my life, when something major happens, or when someone of what the world calls noble and great, when they pass on or transcend, we always honor them with a moment of silence. Now, that's powerful. And I say to people, find a way each day to honor yourself with a moment of silence. Find a way each day to honor that greatness of who you are with a moment of silence. This is not something that has just been set aside for the kings and the queens and the rich and the famous and the noble of the world. This is for all of us. There's a saying that silence is golden.
Absolutely.
And so I tell people, just start by turn off the TV, turn off the radio, turn everything off and just be still, even if it's just for a moment. I said, and after that, and do that, even if it's just for 30 seconds. And what will happen in that moment, there is something that will take place, and you will desire more of that silence in your life each passing day.
Right.
Yeah,
That's great.
Silence is a beautiful and necessary element of, if you're going to be the highest expression of yourself, if you're going to be, not just work through your challenges, right? Not just move through challenges, because that's not what life is. Life is not about just constantly moving through challenges. Life is also about expressing the highest version of yourself on the planet. Right.
Yes.
So that's how you offer more love to the world. That's how you offer more. That's how you let more God or creative source or higher source or whatever you call it, universe, be expressed in the planet. Is you express the higher versions of yourself. If you're going to do that, if you are going to be committed and committed to having that experience on the planet, you have got to have a relationship with silence.
Yes. Yes.
You've got to have a relationship with it. You've got to have practices in place that allow you to experience that. You've got to have time in your days, every day, where you experience silence in some way, which is why I love meditation or whatever you call it.
Right.
But you've got to have a relationship with silence if you are going to become the higher version of yourself in this lifetime. You're going to have to do that, and it's a never-ending relationship with silence. It's not. It's not a one-night stand with silence where I slept with silence last night, and then that was enough to last me for my entire lifetime. You have to have an extended narrative.
Man cannot live on yesterday's manna. You cannot live on. I cannot live today on yesterday's meditation. I can't live today on the food that I ate yesterday. My body is nourished by the food that I eat today, by the water that I drink today. Same with these moments of silence in this meditation, it's the same, it's the same process, and when people say, oh, Terry, I don't have time to meditate, I say to them, well, once you begin a path of meditation, you will say to yourself, I don't have time not meditate, because when you see the work that it does in your life, I've been meditating for 30 years, and I would have never have thought that I would be saying that. But when I've come to see the power of it in my life and how it has directed me along every path, and how my life has become this magical playland of mystery and love and joy and wonder, and of whatever that I need begins to show up, I know that is not happening because anything that Terry is doing. That is happening because Terry, as you have said in step 2, is aligning himself with that power, whatever name one wants to call it. It is in that alignment with that source, because it is the source that makes the flowers bloom. It is the source that makes the seasons change. It is the source that is beating our heart and making our lungs breathe. It is the source that has brought us here, and it is that very source that will direct every path of our life. But we have to acknowledge it in all our ways. We have to align ourselves with it.
Yes. In the interest of time, you shared so much juicy stuff, and I can talk to you all literally for another hour about this. This is so much more to go into. But in the interest of time, I just want to rehash the last 3 steps. I want to give you one last chance, inner soul development, SJ, to say any last parting comments, as well as Terry Prince, if you have any last parting comments, and give you a second to say anything in just a second. But I want to rehash the 3 steps, which were 1, surrender, which involves invitation of the divine to come into the present situations, and then offering over your control of the situation. Number 2 was to get in alignment, which we talked about, which was relaxation. Meditation is an awesome tool to help you begin to do that, get still, as well as raising your vibration, which again, meditation is an awesome tool to help you do. And then number 3 was take inspired action. Be guided, let your soul speak to you about what the action is necessary to make the solution, to head to the solution, and to rise higher. If you all, again, the Soulicious Living Show, which I just love all of the stuff that's come out of here. Just so juicy what you all gave today. The Soulicious Living Show is a spiritual coaching blab, which is designed to help all of us learn how to live really, really well and create more delicious lives for ourselves by practicing self-love and deep, deep, deep surrender to the divine. That's what this show is about. We're going to feature many, many spiritual teachers, many personal transformation experts. It's not just going to be me speaking and teaching all the time. And it's not just going to be me teaching. I'm also learning. Like, I've learned some things from you beautiful souls that have come up here too. So I'm really excited about that. The next particular show is about this concept of, as you rise higher on your spiritual path, you also have to go deeper. As you go higher, you have to go deeper. And I'm going to have a guest who's an internationally known spiritual healer and teacher, Gitanjali Hemp, who will be on. I'll be talking to her about that. And again, as always, you all can come in and join the angel seats, as Terry and SJ have done. You can join the soul seats, as many of you all have done over here, and give them beautiful, beautiful comments. And that will be the next show. So join me next Sunday, every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific time, for Soulicious Living, where we learn to live really, really well and create lives that are in alignment with our souls. So in just these last few minutes, I'll give you each probably a minute apiece, because we've gone over our hour. So if you have any last kind of statements that you want to have, that you'd like to offer about to our listeners and our followers and all that, about what you've learned about rising higher when the shit hits the fan, I'll give you a minute apiece. So I'll start with SJ, since Terry just got through speaking.
Okay. I thank you so much for this platform. This Blab is a great way of reaching people fundamentally, so they know exactly what they need to do. And I thank you for that. A lot of people who I come in contact with a lot are on autopilot. So what I try to do, I take you off your autopilot, take you off course to your greatest self. But you have to get off autopilot, okay? And now, in order for you to do that, you know, people like to look good. They cleanse their body. They do all kinds of detoxing. But I think it starts with detoxing your mindset. You have to detox this first, okay? You got to find out the potential that you have and the power that you have within yourself. You have to realize that you do have higher faculties and all these good things that you have in order to be successful. Because you could go and plan all you want as far as being strategic, but if you're not in line, if your beliefs is not in line with what you are going for, then you're going to come into some kind of altered, you're going to come into war within yourself, because your belief system is very, very important. What you believe. What is your belief system on money? What is your belief system on yourself? What is your belief? That is truly important for you to become aligned with the universe, because the universe deals with feeling, not just saying, feeling. You can't
Absolutely.
There's people that do affirmations are totally wrong. They do it like a script. Your affirmation brings you in line with the universe, and so beliefs. But your belief system is also in tune with that, you know. So I feel like people
10 seconds
and just speak, just say you are great, you are a great blessing, you're gonna make a lot of money. Just keep saying that, repeat this to yourself. No. If your belief system is not in line with that, then you need to get your belief system and work on home first.
Thank you, SJ. Thank you. So Terry, you got 1 minute. Anything last things you want to say?
You know, first, just, thank you for creating this space, this place of love, and what I'd like to say to all those who are listening and who have joined us and are with us, that I love you from that place, from that space where we're all the same, and that we are here to inspire each other. We are not here to compete with one another. We are each here to elevate and to share and to remind each other who we are. We are love, we are love, we are love. And as I say to myself each day when I wake up, how may I go out into this world today, and how may I love? How may I love? Where can I love? Who can I love? How can I love? And to let our life and to be of that, and to know that if we just take that love each day and let it lead our way, then it will guide us, it will inspire us, it will motivate us, it will heal us, and that is how we go out into the world and be a light. The light is love. The light is love, and that's who we are, and we have to be that. And so I say that from the most loving place within me, that love is the answer.
Absolutely.
And it will never, ever, ever change.
Thank you so much, Terry. Thank you so much, SJ. For all of you all who are in attendance today, please, we're going to have this every Sunday at those times. If you'd like to learn more about me, you can learn more about me at jeromebraggs.com. I'll put the links to all of my kind of social media connections in the comments here, as well as I invite, Terry and SJ you can put your links to your work, or if you have work, or to your blogs or anything that you have, you can put your links in the comment section here. But if you all would like to learn more about who I am and what I'm doing, my name is Jerome Braggs. I am a spiritual teacher, awakening coach, and intuitive medium. My website is jeromebraggs.com. You can follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/Coach Jerome Braggs, and at Twitter at Jerome Braggs. I'm always on my social media site. It's always just me. I'm the one commenting. I'm the one responding. I'm the one posting and putting blogs and doing videos. So I'd love to see you all again next Sunday, where we have a juicy show. Again, we're going to talk about what it actually takes to, as you go higher in your spiritual path, why that is that you must go deeper, and what going deeper actually looks like. So see you again. Much love to all of you all. You gave so much juicy information. I'm totally filled and nourished, and I can't wait to hear from all the people who are going to watch the replay what they got from this. Much love as always. You are loved. You are lovable. You are worthy, deserving, and enough. And you are divine. And that will never, ever, ever change. Goodbye.
Peace.
Peace.
Thank you, Jerome.
Thank you.
No problem.
Ashe. Namaste.